Boom, boom. Yes. Welcome back to your favorite podcast on YouTube, the Don Core and Dricanhippie Show. I am your host, the highest hippie in the room, Dricanhippie, and Don Core couldn't make it in today, but today we got a special co-host guest today, and y'all already know the face, y'all know what it is. Jay, the Gent, what's going on, baby? How you feeling?
What up? Shout outs to Don Core. Thanks for letting me come through and hold it down with you guys. You know, always good to be in the building. How you been?
That's a fact. I'm feeling good. We was a little mishap right there, you know what I'm saying? But we
Just
was talking. This is episode 204, I believe. This is episode 204, but we was deep in the conversation of mental and physical health, you know what I'm saying? So you were saying that you was just trying to do everything. It's a one day at a time thing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey with constant like research of looking for solutions. Yeah. And it's something I found over the years, just because it's something I know I personally struggle with it. It's something I know that you got to just stay persistent at. It's a lifelong duty to take care of your mental health as well as your physical health. They're both the same thing. They function together. If your physical is off, your mental is going to be off. If your mental's off, your physical falls off.
Yeah,
it's constantly like counterbalance. Mm-hmm. So right now I've been going deep on the meditation. Meditation helped me before, like with drinking and a lot of issues I've had in my life over time. And I've been doing it again. I think I'm on like 8 days now in a row. Mm-hmm. That's how I've been feeling. I think I'm like slowly like falling into it like by accident, because lately my lower back has been like tightening up since like July, and I've been doing a lot of stretching. So when you stretch, you quiet and you almost meditating. But for me, my brain keeps going. It never stops. So I'm trying to find different ways of trying to get to the meditation phase so I could quiet my brain and just try to be present, you know what I mean? Yeah. In the moment of what's going on, or the quietness of what I want, you know what I mean? But that's a big part of the meditation process. There's different apps you can use. A lot of them are free. I prefer to use Insight Timer.
Insight Timer?
Yeah, Insight Timer is a good app. I'll tell you right now what I do. Let me open it up. This guy, Jonathan Latham, I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name right, but he has a good like few meditations. I normally do his like 10-minute morning meditation, and they give you like 7 affirmations to like speak out. So it's like there's one that's I can name a few of them. Like the 7th one is to be impeccable with your word, not just to yourself but to others. Like to speak kindly and softly in all situations. The 6th is the kindest thing you can do is to listen and give a response. So it's like, you know, acknowledge others, you know what I mean, outside of yourself.
Make sure you stick to your word, make all that kind of stuff. What the app I was using for a little while was I believe it's called Quiet or something like that, the one that LeBron promotes or something like that. Yeah,
you see that one on TV, the subway system. You'll see it everywhere.
After a certain time they tried to charge the kids, so I was like, all right, I took the free trial, you know what I'm saying? So, but I just try to use those type of things to center myself, because I be everywhere with my emotions, you know that. And
me too. That's a lot of us, and I think the struggle with that is that and this is for anyone and everyone. I don't think it's as much of a class structure as they try to make it seem. Like people try to be like, oh, it's like a brown problem, it's like a inner city problem, it's a lower class problem. It's a problem across the spectrum. If you weren't given the proper tools as a child to learn coping techniques, or you just don't understand how powerful emotions are and how to deal with that, because you know you're talking about like the constant noise in the brain and things. Like I've been studying a therapy called ACT. It's called acceptance commitment therapy, and it really kind of talks about the noise that goes on in your head. Like those things don't really ever go away. It's more so about learning how to understand like their placements, and like you learn different techniques of how to deal with these things. Like, because the reality is that pain can exist even in happiness. Like that's one of the things that really struck me with the whole acceptance commitment therapy, because like they were talking to, like the analogy they used was like this girl, she's getting married and it's the happiest day of her life, and then in the middle of her wedding, she's thinking about, you know, even though everyone's there that she would want there, she starts thinking about her father that killed himself when she was 16. You know, and it's like even in your happiest moments, like you might be triggered to think about a dark moment, but it's about not letting the dark moment overpower your light, and that's never gonna go away.
And that shit even goes minuscule to like people like living and breathing off social media. Like you get all these good comments, thousands of good comments, then those two that's like saying fuck you or something, you pay attention to the negative shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, we need to learn how to center ourselves, because I was just having this conversation with one of my friends. Like as humans, we have that one thing that, like, let's say an animal doesn't have, that consciousness, that we aware of everything that's going on. You know what I'm saying? They know what their purpose is as an animal. You know what I mean? Just as an example, they know their purpose. A tree knows its purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like everything on this earth knows its purpose. As humans, we didn't come here with no like instructions or nothing. It's like, yo, this shit is crazy. Then I could only imagine how a female thinks, like, yo, I could bring a life into this earth and shit like that. Like, all that shit has to fuck with the mental, you know what I mean? So,
but it's equal, because they can bring a life into this earth and they need a male. They don't necessarily need a male partner. I mean, we're talking in terms of like the most basic of how we understand like life in a scientific, you know, from a scientific binary, as they would
like
say,
you said, it all works together.
It all works together. Like you need another human being in most cases, scenarios. So
like, that's what I mean. Because us as males, we know what that frame of thought is. Like, yo, I got to be careful with who I choose to
lay down and
bring a child into this earth with. You know what I'm saying? So imagine their mentality too. Like, yo.
And I mean, that's across the board for everyone.
For everyone.
Like,
and that's
all situations now when you got children involved, like LGBTQ community, every community, race, culture, whatever, there's always going to be a dynamic between whoever the two people are that are rearing the child. And if there's not unison and compassion and understanding and communication, like these situations tend to be ugly. I mean, I think a good amount of us seen it in our own personal lives growing up, in our own families, in our own interactions with our parents. So, you know, these are very like complex situations. You know, most people aren't even hip or educated to the idea. Like if you don't have an example of like how to go through the system or play the game, like it trickles down for many generations that come behind. Like it takes one person to figure it out to start putting the rest of the squad on. And that's kind of how all this stuff works. But it's not impossible, you know?
So, anyone out there that's struggling, watching this episode, watch our podcast, watch this podcast, struggling with mental or anything like that, just find the
research.
Research and find the escape that works for you. You know what I mean? Everything doesn't have to be drugs and shit like that, because that makes it worse. You know what I mean? You gotta try to find. You gotta try to find something, a different outlet. And proactive. Definitely. So, shout out to all of y'all, man. Just keep your head up and keep moving day by day. You know what I mean? Just take it day at a time. You know what I mean? So
we hitting the Buddha, so don't get confused. Like the Buddha can be abused. You know what I mean? So even take the Buddha, you know, take it with respect and mindfulness. You know, that's just like the real big thing. Is just to, you know, I always have to remind myself, like, just to be mindful. You know what I mean? Be mindful of yourself and be mindful of what's going on around you.
So anybody new that's watching, like, comment, subscribe, you know what I mean? We're gonna get to it. So with that conversation, I just felt like it was cool to dive into. You really didn't watch it. We spoke about it just now, the Dave Chappelle stand-up. It was called The Closer. So this one was basically his last one for Netflix right now, the last show on his deal. But in this one, he was talking about what you dived into with the LGBTQ community, you know what I'm saying? So I believe that if you watch some of his recent ones that he dropped on Netflix.
I seen the very first. I saw the very first one he did.
So you see how almost it seems like he's going, like he's building
up as he goes.
Like
along.
He has a something with that community, right? Like he goes at that community a lot, right? More than likely the T part, the transgender part.
Yeah.
Like it seems like he has a problem with it, right? So in this one, he tries to like bring it around. You know, he's a master at dropping something and then coming back to it and making you be like, oh, that's the full scope of it. So he speaks about a comedian that was transgender, but he seen past that. In her soul, she was a comedian.
Yeah.
So she laughed at all his jokes and everything, right? So he said he let her come on stage and whatever. Tragically, she killed herself, right? Mm-hmm. But when you watch it, you'll see why. And it falls into what we was talking about. Like, you feed into the comments. You feed into the negativity of what people think about you and people who don't know you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after that, a couple days after it drops, now there's a lot of like backlash. But Netflix is saying that they not gonna drop the special. Like, they're gonna keep it up.
And I think that's good. Like, we haven't really talked on it or touched on it, but that's something I struggled with in my life, was like my acceptance of who I am. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I went through that like very, very deeply, and then like up to the point of the pandemic, I had never publicly spoken about my life like in that manner. So when I had to get to the point of accepting myself for who I was, there's a really double-edged sword that people don't really see in like a full spectrum of things. Yeah. And like knowing the history of the LGBTQ community and the oppression that people face, and like the fears and the anxieties that you accumulate over your lifetime, not feeling like you can speak. I understand slightly where they're coming from, but there's also like this thing where it's like people are human beings, and even in that community alone, in the LGBTQ community, there's issues of racism and hatred and transphobias and people just, you know, body shaming, and like lesbians don't talk to gay guys and guys don't talk to the lesbians, and this and that and the third. It's like, it's a lot of contradictory to me. Like, I see like both sides of the spectrum. I see the two different opinions. And I also understand how this community interacts, and it's just as flawed as any other community, whether it's a minority community or oppressed community. There's all types of issues across the board. I don't think it's possible to cancel everyone every time there's like an issue that arises, because it's like everyone's talking trash. Like you said, it's like about ignoring those negative comments. It's like, it's not about the two comments. It's like, you got to look at the silver lining on everything.
Yeah, how you are being accepted.
How you are being accepted, how you are speaking with people, like who are the people that really matter. Yeah. And like, these conversations are going to keep coming up. Black and white, black and Hispanic, Asian this, you know, there's Asian hate. But like, what happened? What hasn't happened? Like, who hasn't trashed one another? Like, hurt people.
Yeah. And that's the thing, hurt people, and that's why we got to go back to the earlier conversation. We have to first understand ourselves, fix our mental, and then try to empathize with anything that comes in your lane. You know what I'm saying? Anything that comes this way, you have to be able to empathize with it, because everything is not meant to be met with anger and aggression. You know what I mean? Like, some things are for that, but some things are to be like, okay, what's your problem? Oh, I had that same problem growing up too. You know what I'm saying? We both went about it different ways, or whatever the case is. But everything that we saying right now was the main points that he was hitting in this stand-up. You know what I mean? It's not that I hate you guys. It's that he said it. I'm jealous of almost how you progressed in the manner of how we wanted to progress as a people, as black and brown people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's even another topic, because like I said, like in the LGBTQ community, I can't even get it down, and they got me categorized with it. I can't even pronounce half that shit. You know what I mean? I'm not even into it like that. Yeah. So it's just, but there is one thing that's very clear, is that there's a difference between the black and brown community and that community as well, as opposed to like, you know, what people call like the Anglo-Saxon or the white, like, dominant complex. And that's like its own thing too. So it you know, it's different experiences. For the first time, I think, in society, we are really at a point where we're talking about these things, as before it's like everything was hush hush. We don't talk about nothing.
It's supposed to stay in the dark. Yeah,
it's supposed to stay in the dark. You don't discuss like.
But that's why that saying is true. Anything. Like everything that's in the dark will come in the light. So it's just like, don't be ashamed of who you are. Be who you are, and boom. You know what I mean? Stay grounded on that. So why you think it's a good thing that Netflix not taking that?
Because it's art, and art's supposed to be subjective. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to spark like conversation. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. Not all art is supposed to make you feel good.
Yeah, because
art's supposed to make, like, we wouldn't have this conversation right now without his art. We would still be quiet. We would still be, people would be like, oh, I can't say this, I can't say that. Yeah, the communication's not there. It takes someone strong enough and centered inside themselves to get up there and be like, I'm gonna have this conversation. And I kind of feel like that's the important part of what Dave Chappelle's doing. It's like, you gotta understand, like, there's the art, dude. I think it would be foolish of anyone to just automatically assume he's homophobic or transphobic. You know, and at the end of the day, even if he is canceling him and taking his art away isn't gonna fix the problem. People are still gonna be like that. You don't want them to be underground. You want everything to be out in the open. It's like, yo, like, forget dancing around the bush. Let's get straight to the point, and let's have just be direct with one another.
That's why I like his stance on his comedic art. He stands on that ground of, we are comedians. We say the tough things that people think of, and that goes back to whatever, you know what I mean?
I mean, you look at Richard Pryor and George Carlin and a lot of these other guys. I mean, it's so important. Like, there's things that you look back on in the past and you're just like, oh, like, that's not cool. But, you know, you got to give things perspective of the time and the era they're in, and then, like, look at the progression. Look what has come after, you know? It's, you know, you're not going to have the progression with, if you're going to constantly stifle the art and constantly trying to, like, silence people, like, nothing's going to be accomplished.
Because you got your choices. You could go, like, I love him too. You could go and watch Kevin Hart's art. You know what I mean? He's not that outspoken on those topics.
I mean, I laughed at the joke Kevin Hart did, because to me that was funny, because I grew up in a black household. Like, I know how a black dad thinks, you know what I mean? Like, they not understanding what it's like to be black, like the sense of fear that a black father might have for his child, one, just because it's a black boy, and two, he might be gay. Like, those are like two strikes in society against your kid. So it's just, for people, I guess they gonna look at it and be like, oh, Kevin Hart said this and that's so terrible. Kevin Hart's just emulating, like, what it's like to really be in the hood. Like, if you don't get it, then of course you're not gonna laugh at it. But if you're from the hood, you're probably gonna be like, yo, that's kind of funny. Because sometimes he come off so cut and clean that people forget his humble beginnings, where he really came from. You know what I'm saying? I know, because he's like poster child America now. You know what I mean?
But he's really... He comes from us, like, he comes from the streets. Like, that's why people, like, love Soul Plane and Paper Soldiers. Like, yo, those are classics.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying?
For us, they classics for us. For other people, they're not on that.
Exactly like that. You know what I mean? So, shout out to Dave Chappelle. Shout out to Netflix. You know what I'm saying? Like,
shout out to everyone that's out there doing their thing.
Shout out to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Do what you gotta do to
express yourself.
Happiness. You know what I'm saying? Because ain't nobody else gonna make you happy. Nobody else. Only you. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know where to transition from that. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's a heavy topic. You know
we should just sweep up the Rams situation.
What was that?
With the head coach for the Rams.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we got that on the list. We should
John Gruden from the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders.
The Las Vegas
Raiders. Excuse me.
So
2 R's. My bad.
I'm glad. Oh, look at this. My son Gent is on point. You know what I'm saying? We did a little pre-production, and he said, "I know where I'm going with it. When it's my time to shine, give me my 15 minutes,
Yeah, we out here. We out here.
John Gruden, in an email that people saw, he wrote to the NFLPA chief. He said that he's dumb and he looks like he has Michelin tire lips.
Now that's hardcore. I'm not condoning that, but it goes back to the same thing I said before, and you know, it's a real sticky situation that they're in the NFL, because there's definitely a lot of political pressure on these kind of situations.
Facts.
But when you're I feel that when you're working at that level of business and that kind of aptitude, like you're there for a reason, and it is psychologically damaging, I guess, on the players to have to deal with like being in the presence of someone like that. But it's almost like it's down to business. It's like there's a common goal here to get money, and it's about performance and stuff at the end of the day. And I think there's a lot of politics that go into this. I'm not in those locker rooms, in those conversations. I don't know how those people feel working professionally with someone like that. And I think that's what it comes down to. I think that as an organization, if they can heal and educate, I feel like that would be more productive than just canceling somebody out of the situation. Because what are we really gaining from that?
What you learn from that?
What did anyone learn from that? That's like, that keeps happening, but that doesn't address the problem, because how many more people are going to come into that position that didn't say something messed up before they were in like a position of power or afterwards? Like how much are we going to dig up out of someone's past life? People, you don't know. Everyone has their right to the road of redemption, So I think maybe, you know how I feel about it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying he don't deserve to be disciplined. Yeah. I just don't understand what's gonna come out of it now.
Yeah. Well, that is like just clean up. You know what I mean? So for me, like you're saying, maybe you have to sit down with these people that have these mindsets and sit him down with Colin Kaepernick. You know what I'm saying? Why are you talking like that about a black man that's in a higher position than you in this entity? You know what I'm saying? You feel a type of way about that you have to answer to a black man. You know what I mean? Get down to the root of the problem. Like, what is it?
I also feel like that's capitalism, and even in its finest, that's the gridiron culture. Like, football's not just a physical game. It's a game of talking a lot of trash. There's a lot of like psychological and emotional training and tactics that goes into using your body.
A lot of people don't want to admit it. It's a racial.
Yeah, it's a dog-eat-dog game. It's racist. It's foul. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just because you see people on the scene. It's like soldiers at war. Like, you're there to accomplish a goal. Like,
just because you see these players getting so much money, don't think that they not psychologically somewhere where I don't want to answer to this. Man, or something like that, where I feel pressured or something like that. So it's a lot going on for them. You know what I mean?
Because the players is really like, at the end of the day, like, they're stars, but they're laborers and they're workers for someone else's, goal and profit. And they've been blessed with talent and physique to be able to perform for that, for that duty at the end of the day. Yeah. So I get it, and I think the NFL could have a more healthier, inclusive culture. I don't think canceling people is gonna accomplish that. Right now, I feel what it does is just like it soothes people's discomfort or wounds, but it doesn't really address the problem.
Action that just happened. Yeah, it's like cover it real quick and then we
doesn't really address the problem.
We're in the middle of the NFL season. We can't get too crazy over it. You know what I mean? So fire him, and
he's taking the team to the Super Bowl, so you can't like take that accomplishment away. There's still there's a lot of technique and skill and
there's not a lot of coaches that's done that before. But he resigned.
Yeah, he resigned because he had no choice to. That's kind of how those situations work.
You feel the hot seat that you in is like, all right, let me.
You already know what's coming. Yeah. You gotta own it. You know what I mean? So
he apologized in a tweet. For anybody that I may have heard, I apologize. But that's not, for me, that's not good enough. You got to get more into a conversation, like you said in the beginning. Get more into a conversation, because you had a lot of. You gotta, not to say it like that, but you had a lot of black youth on your roster that was looking at you like a coach. You know what I'm saying? And then for you to say that about a boss of yours is like, whoa, what he think of me then? You know what I mean? So, I think a lot of the players understand what's going on. I don't think this is new to them. This is something that starts off at a very early age. When you black, you brown, you know what time of day it is when you stepping out the house. Especially I don't when understand. Into some entertainment or sports realm. When you into that type of realm, it's like,
you know what you stepping into, and I don't think any one of those players are that naive. I think they know what's going on around them and how people think and feel. But I think what's important is how do we address like, how do we address this, and how do we have this conversation? How do we make a healthier environment and a more inclusive environment for everyone, so we can all get back to what we're trying to do, which is get the money.
Yeah. And that's what everything is about. Just like the 13 former NBA players.
Yeah, ooh. So we gonna slide through to the next one like that.
Right there, you know what I'm saying? Because I know you guys out there.
I'm a Telfair fan, yo, Brooklyn, baby.
Bassy, I went to see him play a couple times, you know what I'm saying? In Coney Island. He was nice. But they basically did the PPP loan.
A lot of people did that one, you know. Can't get mad. I mean, everybody was doing the PPP loan.
Everybody do something to try to get some extra ends out here.
Kanye did the PPP loan. Let's keep it real.
So the NBA players, former NBA players, did a fraud for the health insurance. The health insurance plan that the NBA gives you.
Yeah, they was marking up fake root canals and different dental bills and whatnot.
That's crazy. So, how you feel about that?
I mean, for me, when I started reading it and I looked into the situation, seeing what players was caught up in it, you know, there's some mentionable names, you know, that had
Big Baby Davis,
that had some, you know, promising career. There's only but so much, that money only lasts but for so long if it's not properly invested. I think this kind of just goes back to making sure that young athletes and young people coming into positions of wealth have the proper financial literacy and education that they should have, so that they can avoid situations like this. Because this to me sounds like a situation where people might be living outside of their means.
Yeah, so like
or trying to maintain a certain lifestyle that they used to.
You living that life, and when they retire, man, most of these probably played like a max 10 years.
Yeah, if they were lucky.
If they was lucky, most of them probably played 3-4 years.
Yeah, and depending on what type of deal, you know, you like, not everyone's coming in getting 20 million over 10 years and 100 million and doing all that. Some cats don't come in underway less, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's a reality of signing and being a part of the NBA. Like, it's a machine. It's about getting that money. So,
and this is a federal prosecutor. This is FBI. There's
a level of criminal to it. You know, I was reading about it. They ain't all innocent. It's $4 million. And I'm not like saying they're right for doing it. I'm just looking at the possibilities of why someone would do something like that. Yeah. You know, what's the motivation behind it? Yeah. You know, there's only a few answers that you're going to be able to come up with, because you can't rationalize irrational shit.
That's a fact, because I could pinpoint plenty of times in my life where I thought of doing some scam
shit, you know what I mean?
Scam shit to get some extra ends. Like,
get some money.
Moms couldn't get the groceries this month.
Like, you gotta do what you gotta do, and that's a part of the struggle. I think, you know, you're looking at a bunch of brown players. You know, it's a bunch of black and brown players
coming from certain communities,
and you see that situation way too common, way too often. You know, and it's fascinating that you can get to the top and still end up in that situation,
in that predicament, right?
In that predicament.
But then that also falls to like financial literacy, where we not learning that as young men, you know what I mean? Because then one day we wake up and after the draft and we got $10 million in our account. Oh, what I'm gonna do with that? I'm getting moms, grandmoms, auntie a crib. I gotta get my cars, my jewels, you know what I'm saying? And then everybody else, agents and shit that you gotta pay. Yeah. Uncle Sam that you don't know shit about. Cause you was an athlete your whole life. You never worked a 9 to 5, so you don't know shit about Uncle Sam. Then you sitting there with $2 million and you like, yo, what the I'm supposed to deal with this till next, you know what I mean? So
it's just an interesting situation, because, you know, I have conversations with someone close to me all the time, and we discuss the whole, there's a difference, like, they're a lawyer, and no one else in their family was a lawyer before them. But you go to law school and there's people that come from lawyer families. So like their family understands the system of how they're going to move from high school to college and to law school, which law firms to work at, who to talk to, like who's the contacts in that industry. And that's really kind of like, it goes down to the same thing, the same way you see certain people that are doctors, they come from families normally of doctors and people who do that line of work. It's a very fine-tuned community, just like the music industry. A lot of people who come from parents that are in entertainment almost end up in entertainment themselves, like, so on and so forth. Doc Rivers' son plays in the NBA. Yeah. Steph Curry's in the NBA.
You know, father-son now.
And you see the difference, you know, in the way that is, you know, when you had guidance and you have someone to show you the process and the ropes of how to move through that business. So that issue of literacy, of understanding the business and the finance of what's going on around you is definitely a big thing. And it transcends to all things. It's not just in in sports. It's just across the board. So it shows that it's an issue that needs to continuously like be addressed. I'm not sure when we're gonna get to like a resolve on it. Yeah. It's like well known by now. By now it's well known. So it's up to you. You know, you gotta put it on yourself.
Yeah. You know? I like well, you know me. Sometimes I find humor and shit like this. So when I'm looking at the names, I'm like, oh man, Glenn Baby Davis, that's crazy. Cause I remember certain shit that he did in college. You know what I'm saying? He did certain scams and shit. So Tony Allen, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
I seen Sebastian Telfair.
I don't know. I
was already on. I was like, oh yeah, I could already see where this is going. You know what I mean? So
yeah, hold your head up. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully, whatever money you got left, now you got to put that to a lawyer, so you won't. You know what I mean? Because this looked like they might be doing some time. Shannon Brown.
Yeah. They're gonna do.
You know who wifey? Monica. Will Bynum, I remember him. CDR, Christopher Douglas Roberts, Jamario Moon. He was playing in the Big Three just now.
Yeah.
Darius Miles. Yeah. Wasn't he in that comedy movie, The Heist? You gonna get caught up in shit like this. This is crazy, bro. I don't know, man, but
it's a long list.
Hold your heads, you know what I'm saying?
18.
That's a lot.
They're lucky they didn't get hit with the RICO.
That everything was so good just a week ago. Got hit with the RICO.
God bless. They didn't get hit with that. So
word up.
That'd be sour if they did. I wouldn't be surprised.
A woman sues Geico Insurance.
Okay.
For contracting STDs during car sex.
That's ridiculous.
Talk about scams.
God bless her.
She trying to get that money, you know what I'm saying?
Spiteful.
Joe, what's his name? Joel Osteen?
Yeah.
Mega Church got to pay back $4 million in PPP loans.
Oh, I seen that.
And he been scamming for years.
I mean, they all scam. Some of them just get caught.
Let's not get into that church.
The church is enough for me. The church did a lot. You know, continues to do a lot. They be playing games.
They be playing games.
Playing games with God.
R. Kelly's music 500% rises since his conviction.
That's the hood.
What you think?
They're not even just the hood. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of white girls that still like R. Kelly. They still like Ignition. They love that record.
Ignorance at its finest, right there.
I wouldn't say it's ignorant. I wouldn't say it's ignorance at its finest. I think in the history, like, look at the Woody Allen situation. Woody Allen, famous Hollywood acclaimed director, one of the greatest of all times. Everybody wants to do one of his movies, and he's been
groomed his wife from.
You know, they've been he's married to his adopted daughter.
Groomed his wife.
You know, so they've been talking about that for years. He hasn't been canceled or not been awarded. You know, I think at a certain point in time, you separate the man from the art. You know, I'm a proponent of that? I am a promoter of that. I'm really I'm not even just I'm against the cancel culture. Okay. I think it's whack. I think it's the same thing as when you put a felony on me and you don't allow me to progress in life because I did this one thing in my lifetime as though I can't change.
Action, yeah.
You know, that's what, like, the felony is the same thing as cancel culture.
That's something Dave Chappelle said about the baby. Yeah. He said nobody flipped out when he killed the dude in Walmart. But everybody flipped out when he said something about that community. You know what I'm saying? Now he's canceled. So weigh it out. Which one is, you know what I mean? Like, but
that's the thing about speech, you know, and that's what I've learned over the years, because I used to be real reckless with my mouth, and sometimes I still can. But what I've learned is that words carry a lot of weight, and there's no such thing as freedom of speech without accountability.
And you can't go back on words.
Yeah, so you got to be accountable for what you're saying.
I learned that in relationships, where you try to maintain a certain, and then when words get involved, negative words, that one person would not look at you ever the same.
Same way.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's how you see me, because that's what was your true thoughts. But it was just a question, but I don't know if it's ignorance at its finest, but I think it's what you saying. People gonna choose. There's people if there's 10 people in a room, 3 gonna love you, another 3 gonna hate you, and you got the other 4 is like maybe. So you gotta grab them or they gonna leave. You know what I mean? So there's people that weigh the options of the art or the man. I don't fuck with what he does in his personal life, but his art is so great that.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry Lee Lewis married his like 14-year-old cousin or something like that, and we still play his records. I get people, like, as a DJ, I get people all the time that come up to me, though. I've only had it happen a few times. Like, the one time someone came up to me, I was playing a Michael Jackson record, and he's like, he's a molester. It's actually at this at a wedding. I was DJing a wedding, and the bride's uncle came up to me. He's like, "Don't play that molesters music." I was like, "Oh, what? What's going on here?" He started getting real aggressive about it too. So I was just like, "Whoa!" Like, I was like, "Really?
You don't fuck with?
You don't fuck with Mike? Like,
my feeling?
We rocking right now. Rock with you, baby." Nah, I mean, I get it. There's.
I understand.
These are serious things that happen, but. You know, it really feels that, you know, certain people just feel like they need to just like sabotage someone's whole legacy over this one act or whatever. I get it. Like, these are terrible things that people do, but it should be a reminder to everyone in society how equally flawed we are. You know, that we're all in this. Like, this is all for one. Don't idolize nobody.
Nobody. You never know what
nobody's
somebody's
a god.
Demons
Nobody's
are.
perfect. You know what I mean?
You never know what somebody's demons are. So that's true. You know what I mean? That's true. That was honestly all the topics I had, because the rest was sports. But you know what I mean? I know that you're not on sports right now.
No.
They said that Kyrie won't be able to play.
Oh, this Kyrie thing is crazy.
Until he get his vaccine.
I don't know what's going on with Kyrie. Like, I don't, you know, to each their own. I'm vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. I had to do what I had to do. I got to get bread. I'm not in Kyrie Irving situation. I don't got like contract clauses and lawyers and stuff to fight for my bread if something goes wrong. Like, I can't really throw a temper tantrum.
Did you take your, or you don't talk about it?
What?
The shot. The vaccine.
Oh yeah, I got the J&J. I got that one and done. I did the Dave Chappelle shit. I got real niggerish, like real quick. I was on my bike. I was going by. I seen like 5 white dudes in suits getting the shot. I was like, cool, I'm with it. Fuck it. You know, and I hopped off the bike. I knew I was gonna come back to New York. I wanted to get some bread, so I really wasn't trying to play around with the whole like, oh, I don't got the vaccine and this and like I'm a DJ. I gotta get bread. Yeah. You know, like. If you out here drinking, popping pills and doing all this other shit, I don't see what the difference is. Fact. It's like every time you go pop an E-pill, you asking them like, oh, what's in the E-pill? And you're like, hell no. You're like, yo, let's get some biddies and get
I'm not
this shit
asking my local
off.
weed man, what's in my weed?
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you do got that now. You got that whole like new weed snob scene. And, you know, all those people, they super pretentious about that. They be like, oh, what kind of weed is this? And, you know, is it indica, sativa? And like, what percentage? And this and that and third. Like,
I do that for like the edibles. I be like, yo, how much you put in this? Cause
I don't want to get you fucked up.
For real. It be putting me out. But yeah, that's about it, man. I appreciate you for coming out, man. If there's anything on your mind right now that you want to talk about, we could just talk. You know what I'm saying? We got a couple of minutes. You listen to any new music? Well, let me get your thoughts on this, since you don't really listen to music like that. The next verses, KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane.
Oh,
that's the next verses, October 17th. What's your thoughts on that? Give me your breakdown.
Damn, that's heavy.
That's crazy.
Cause I can't really.
And I know those.
I'm trying to think.
Your type of artist right there that you really rocks with.
Big Daddy Kane verse.
Yeah, I gotta think of
KRS-One. I think that's appropriate. You know, I would kind of probably want to see Big Daddy Kane more against I really feel like I would want to see him against, who is it? Hold on, LL.
And KRS-One could have went.
LL versus Big Daddy Kane.
KRS-One could have went against like Ice Cube or something.
Nah, that wouldn't have been fair.
Destroy.
Yeah.
Ice Cube is in. They both in my top 5. They both in my top 5, but KRS-One, his stage performance is crazy. He went well into the 90s. After the 80s,
he got a lot of clout. He got a lot of
shit that I used to be like. I used to hear the beat. I used to be like, yo, what the fuck is that sound? When I was younger, I used to be like, yo. And then
but Big Daddy Kane and KRS is gonna be good. I mean, they could have did Big Daddy Kane versus r.kelly. That would have been dope too.
Big Daddy Kane got a lot of hits, man.
A lot, and it's not even just hit. His stage presence is bananas. Like
how much of a superstar he was at that time. Who he was like Jay-Z or some shit.
He was
like Brooklyn nigga.
Jay came up under him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just facts. Everybody's from a little murder, pretty much. Man. Chris. I mean, KRS is one of my favorite. Love's Gonna Get You is one of my favorite records with him and his brother and they hustling and all that. Like, for me, that shit was like, yo, that shit is dope.
The Teacher.
Yeah.
Niggas don't know. They friends, but I'm gonna be in your face.
MC's act like they don't know. That's my shit.
He gonna be in his face and all that, bro.
Criminal Minded. Like, I love all those records.
He is too fire. I love KRS-One, but I'm not gonna go back. I don't know if I should go back on my pick. I think I got KRS-One. I had Big Daddy Kane in the last.
That for me is I gotta see the performance.
But it's gonna be close.
I gotta see the performance.
It's gonna be close, but somebody gotta win and somebody gotta lose.
I like what this versus is doing because I'm with Ja. I was just listening to the Drink Champs where they had Ja after he did the verses, and like he said, you know, hip hop is everything. Like he wanted people to see like that he really got love for the culture.
Phone real quick?
Yeah, bang that out.
Put it on the speaker. We call real quick. We gonna call the Dawn. See what he got. We'll catch up with the Dawn on the next time.
The Dawn.
You know what I'm saying? But for that being said, you got anything else you want to give to the people? Man, I think we about to get up out of here.
Yeah, I got one more thing I want to bring up. Anyone trying to watch that the new Sopranos?
I'm going.
St. Mark's. I try to watch it.
I'm going through the seasons right now, and then I'm gonna watch the.
I wasn't into it.
Yeah.
I was disappointed.
Nah.
It reminded me of the John Gotti movie. I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
I don't know what Ray Liotta was in there for. That was like.
Well, I think he's playing his father.
He is, but I just don't. His performance wasn't hitting for me.
Okay.
I think Bobby Cannavale could have did better.
Okay.
Personally, I love my mob movies. That's like always my thing.
Yeah.
But that one's all right. That one's kind of mediocre. I was expecting more.
Alright, cool. Yeah, man. So Jay, the Gent, I appreciate you for coming out, man. You know what I'm saying? You could pop out whenever you need to on the show. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you want to get your voice heard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
peace and blessings for bringing me out. Appreciate you guys having me here, letting me hold it down for Don Core. The Buddha good.
You already know, man. So shout out to Don Core, man, and he'll be back at y'all real soon. You know what I mean? So for Don Core, it's Dricanhippie, and y'all already know what we're about to do. We about to get up out of here, and that's a fact. We gone.
Peace.